when you say courage, what do you mean by it?
Okay, so I think the first thing to distinguish is between whether we're talking about courage as some form of like a property of the individual, some stock, and we often use the word that way, right? We say like they've got courage, as if if you did an autopsy, you could find some stock of courage. I mean, first of all, that's just flat out obviously not true. Um, and maybe we'll talk more about sort of I think what we know about who does and doesn't behave courageously, more or less. But I actually think it's much more helpful to think about courageous acts. So forgetting about the notion, are you more or less courageous on average than me? Is it easier or harder for you than me? And actually just saying, hey, when you have the chance to give a subordinate difficult feedback, do you do it? Or do you sort of soft pedal around and sugarcoat it? When I have the opportunity to push back on, the dean's strategic plan, do I do it or do I sit silently, even though I know others and I disagree? I'm much, much more interested in thinking about courageous actions, those specific moments where we either do step up and step out or we don't. I think that's where we can actually make some progress in saying, hey, Wanda, what for you? Jim, what for me? Are specific actions I'd like to take more of and take skillfully. And that to me is much more useful than hoping that, past 25 or 30, we're going to change our personalities, because we're not.
Right.
And
I
so,
often say if I could change personalities, I would be in a very different business with a lot higher price tag attached to what it is I do.
yeah, that's right. I mean, it's also just such a not actionable strategy, right? So for any, you mentioned leaders that say, I wish people would do more XYZ. Um, well, the actionable strategy is not eliminate 80% of your people and start over.
Right. Right.
First of all, you can't do that for all sorts of reasons, including the fact that you couldn't find the new 80% who would be magically courageous. So, um, yeah. So I'm interested in courageous actions. Now, what does that actually mean specifically? I mean, I would say let's just keep it really simple. I think it's an action that has sort of two features to it. It's something that is deemed to be happening for sort of a worthy cause or purpose. So it has to have some noble aspect to the action. And it has to have some perceived or real risk. Right. And really, we can complicate it more if we want, but I think the simple place to start is, are you doing something that's hard for a good reason, for a good purpose? That's the essence of a courageous action.